The last text was sent at 9:14 p.m. 1 mile of gravel road remained. Corn stalks stood taller than the truck. A teenage girl never reached home. Searchers blamed the fields, the river, and the night. Months later, a rumor took hold and felt convincing. 7 years passed. Then a combine struck something that should not have been there. On a humid August evening in central Illinois, 17-year-old Maddie Keller left her shift at a roadside diner with grease on her apron and $23 in tips folded tight. The sky was bruised purple, cicadas loud enough to drown thought. Maddie declined a ride as she often did, choosing the familiar walk along County Road H, a straight cut between cornfields that locals called the tunnel. Corn rose on both sides like walls, the leaves sharp and whispering. The distance to her house measured just under a mile. She never made it. Her phone stopped pinging the tower near the grain elevator at 9:18 p.m. No outgoing calls followed. No incoming messages delivered. When her mother noticed the empty porch and the porch light still on, the clock read 10:02. By 10:40, sheriff's deputies cruised the road with spotlights. Tires crunched gravel. AK-9 traced Maddie's scent from the diner parking lot to the shoulder where the asphalt gave up and the fields began. The dog circled once, then twice, and then sat. The first theory arrived quickly and stuck hard. Cornfields swallow sound. Ditches hide water. Coyotes roam. The nearby Sangamon River floods without warning. A misstep, a fall, panic in the dark. Simple answers settle frightened towns. Volunteers combed rows with flashlights and machetes. Boots sank into mud. Nothing surfaced. The river was dragged. The results stayed clean. A second explanation grew louder during week 2. A white pickup had been seen idling near the diner. A man in a cap lingered by the ice machine. The story traveled fast and slow at once, changing details with every telling. The truck became older then newer. The cap turned red. The man gained a beard. Tips poured in. None held. Maddie's room froze in time. Homework remained unfinished. A thrift store guitar leaned against the wall. Her mother slept on the couch, waking to phantom footsteps. Her father drove the gravel road nightly, headlights cutting through corn shadows that seemed to move when watched too long. Autumn arrived. Harvest began. Combines chewed the fields down to stubble, revealing ground that had been hidden all summer. Searchers returned, hopeful and afraid. Again nothing answered back. Winter followed, then spring. A year passed. Candlelight vigils dwindled. The diner changed ownership. The case slid into a filing cabinet labeled inactive. What the town didn't know was how the misdirection hardened into belief. People pointed to the river as if pointing made it true. Others spoke of traffickers using rural roads, a story imported from elsewhere that felt safer than the alternative. A few whispered about a local boy with a temper, then stopped when he joined the Marines. Explanations multiplied. Evidence did not. Years moved on. Maddie would have graduated. Her class scattered to colleges and jobs. The corn kept growing, replanted each spring, taller every summer, a green curtain closing and opening on the same scene. The gravel road was repaved. A new grain silo rose like a monument. The night Maddie vanished turned into a sentence that began stories and ended conversations. 7 years later, harvest came early. The morning air held a bite. Eli Rourke, a third-generation farmer, guided his combine through a parcel he'd leased that season. The machine hummed steady until it didn't. Metal protested. The header shuddered. Eli cut the engine and climbed down, expecting a fence post or rock dragged in by flooding. What he found was neither. Tangled in the teeth lay fabric, faded to a color that resisted naming. A strap. A small metal charm bent into a shape that caught light. Eli's hands shook. He backed away and called the sheriff. Deputies sealed the field. News traveled faster than tractors. Crime scene tape fluttered against cut stalks. A forensic team worked under a pale sun, careful and quiet. They recovered fragments first, then more. A partial shoe sole with a distinctive tread. Buttons. Bones bleached by seasons and ground by tires. The location sat 70 yards from the gravel road, beyond where searchers had stopped years before, assuming nothing could survive the harvest. Dental records confirmed what no one wanted confirmed. The remains belonged to Maddie Keller. Relief came tangled with horror. The river theory dissolved. The coyotes lost their teeth. A new question took the place of all the old ones. How did Maddie end up there without a trace? The answer did not arrive clean. Investigators reconstructed timelines with brittle care. Maddie's phone had died near the grain elevator, but a brief burst of movement data suggested a ride, slow, steady engine paced, before silence. Tire impressions photographed the night she vanished resurfaced in the case file, once dismissed as farm traffic. A neighbor's trail camera, overlooked because it faced the wrong direction, yielded a clip archived and forgotten. The footage showed headlights sweeping the corn edge at 9:21 p.m., stopping then reversing. Attention turned inward. To people who knew the road as muscle memory. To those who worked late and moved equipment after dark. The leased field belonged to a man named Caleb Rourke, Eli's cousin, who had owned a white pickup for years before selling it at auction. Caleb had volunteered in the early searches. He brought sandwiches. He spoke softly. He also had a history the town preferred not to connect. An arrest for assault at 19, charges dropped after a settlement. A restraining order filed by an ex-girlfriend, expired and buried. Investigators interviewed Caleb again. He denied seeing Maddie that night, then corrected himself and said he might have waved. Phone records placed him on County Road H at 9:19 p.m. He claimed a dropped call. Soil samples taken from his old truck bed matched the mineral profile of the leased parcel, a match that grew stronger under microscopy. The misdirection that once protected him began to crumble. Still, doubt lingered. Nothing placed Maddie inside his truck. No confession surfaced. Years erase edges. Memories soften. The final reveal arrived from an unglamorous source. Maintenance logs. Caleb had repaired a gate on the leased parcel 2 days after Maddie vanished, a detail noted only because he billed for fuel. The gate sat 70 yards from the road, the same distance measured from where the remains were found. Ground-penetrating scans showed disturbed soil beneath the hinge line, shallow and hurried. The harvest had scattered what the earth once hid. When confronted with the convergence, phone pings, footage, soil and timing, Caleb broke. His statement described an argument that escalated, a shove, a fall into the ditch, panic. He claimed he never meant to kill her. He said the corn hid everything. He said the harvest would take care of the rest. The court would later decide intent. The town faced something harder. A truth less comforting than rivers and coyotes. A neighbor did this. A volunteer. A familiar face behind a white pickup. The field sits empty now between seasons, brown and flat. A place that looks like nothing happened because nothing ever looks like anything happened. Maddie's porch light still comes on at dusk. The road remains straight. Corn will rise again.